Welcome, everybody, to the Building Aaronsburg podcast. I'm Thomas Aaronsburg.
And I'm Catherine Aaronsburg.
And today, kind of in a continuation of our last episode, we talked about college. Today, we're going to talk about our first jobs.
Does that mean that you talking about our first professional job? Are you talking about our first job
it's,
ever?
Wherever you want to start.
Because my first job
Take it
ever
away.
was before college.
Okay.
And we're talking about jobs for other employers, am I right?
Well, you're the only person that's worked for yourself in this room. So, yes.
Yes. Okay. Because I was an amazing boss to myself. If we're just starting out with our first jobs, I was like, Catherine, what do you think about this? You're doing an amazing job, Catherine. Okay, continue the hard work. Good job.
So what was your first job then?
My first job was at a local dry cleaners.
And your duties entailed?
They entailed receiving the dirty clothing from the customers.
Mm-hmm.
Going through all the pockets to make sure that people hadn't left things in their clothes.
I bet you found some real interesting things in the pockets.
I never found anything interesting, but there was definitely lots of stories going around about the things that people were finding in the pockets.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then you had to tag it. The person got the same number. All your items got the same number. So you had to know how many items they had, pin them. They didn't have any, at least the dry cleaner I worked at, we safety pinned every single one of the paper tags on. And then you send it to the back. So
you didn't do any of the cleaning. You were just kind of like a receiving.
The counter person, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
I would go out, get the person's name, all their information. They had a drive-through, so you'd work the drive-through and you'd work the front desk, whichever way they were coming. It was a busy job.
Yeah.
And then they also had, they rented Mardi Gras tails or whatever.
Right.
So in Mobile, Alabama, we had this dress code to go to Mardi Gras balls, and you have to wear tails. And most people don't buy a set of tails, so they'll go and rent them every year from wherever.
A place like that.
And this dry cleaner that's what they did. Yeah. They did cleaning, and they had a whole rental department for tails. Of course, there's weddings too and things like that, but these were like the standard tails.
Mardi Gras things.
Yeah.
So you did that in college?
I don't remember.
High school?
I guess it was college. It had to have been college, but I don't really remember. My memory is so bad. I mean, all that stuff that we talked about last week about running track, and then I started talking, your family came in town this weekend, so we were kind of going over all that stuff. I was in Baton Rouge for Katrina when Hurricane Katrina happened, which was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any of it. 9/11 happened while I was at college. I remember exactly where I was when the plane was hitting, but I don't remember anything surrounding it. I don't remember anything really surrounding Katrina very much. I have blips and faded memories, but for the most part, I don't remember a lot of stuff. So I don't know if I was working at the cleaning place in high school or in college.
I don't remember either.
Now, I did go out to California to live with my sister for one summer. I think that was my sophomore year of college.
Mm-hmm.
And she was living out in the East Bay of San Francisco, and I worked at a Safeway, making sandwiches in the deli and like slicing deli meat. So I learned all about California.
Is that where you learned about your cheeses?
I doubt it.
You're very particular about your cheese.
Good Lord.
I didn't know if that's where.
It's so annoying to me when other people don't know about cheese. I don't know why I think it's so important for people to know about cheese, but if you work in a restaurant, you should know what kind of cheese you're serving people. Am I wrong?
No, yeah.
This all comes up. Look, if you want to get into cheese,
I don't want to get into cheese.
Okay.
But
let's just say that people in the restaurants around here that serve certain kinds of cheese don't even have any idea what the kinds of cheeses they're serving. Anyway, so I worked in California for a summer at Safeway, which is a grocery store there. My sister was living there, and I went to stay with her for a summer just to be in California and be with her and work a job. And everything's very different in California, as you probably can imagine. Their rules are different. They're very stringent. Safeway is a very stringent company as far as like safety is concerned. With we're slicing meat.
Safeway.
Oh boy,
the safe way to slice the meat.
All right. Anyway, so I'm slicing this deli meat. You have to wear like a special glove, and you have to sanitize everything. I'm not saying other places don't have these rules, but it was like you had to do it the way. Mm-hmm. They had secret shoppers that would come through, and you'd get a rating all the time when you're a secret shopper, and so that's where I learned about a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course you're in the deli, so you would make sandwiches too for people. They would come through for lunch, and you would make them sandwiches like Subway. They tell you what they want on their sandwich. I remember I got yelled at one time by a guy who's just being an absolute jerk to me about how I made his sandwich or whatever. And people always say that everyone should have a job in a restaurant or retail because you start to
you
realize
learn about customers.
Well, you learn
dealing
about
with-
how crappy people treat you, and then you
Right.
don't want to go treat people like that. You're
Yeah.
aware. It's that awareness
Yeah.
that we
Oh,
always
I
talk
know.
about, and empathy for others. And so, I learned some of that, I think, there. I will say I didn't work a waitress job ever. I've never been a waitress, and I've never worked in a department store or any kind of a retail industry like that,
Right.
where day in and day out, for years I'm working with customers. So I've gotten at touches of it, but I mean, working at a dry cleaner is not the same.
Sure.
I don't think, and working at the deli department is not the same. Like, you slice the meat, like,
Right.
it's not it's not that big of a deal. So anyway, I guess I've touched on that stuff. Those were my first jobs, and they were both, there wasn't a lot of like boss interaction. They weren't professional jobs.
Yeah, they're entry-level jobs that
Yeah. Yeah, and
don't require a lot of skill.
Yeah, and at Safeway, they're training you, and at some point you have to enter into the union
Ooh.
at Safeway.
Wow.
And it was like if you worked there longer than 6 months,
Oh, so
you
you
had
were not.
whatever it was. But
You're
I
not
was
part of the Safeway union?
no, I'm not. I am not currently a member of the Safeway union in California, but it was even like, I mean, when was that? 20 years ago or more?
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, there was a certain amount of time like you could work outside the union, and then after that you had to join it. And I did not work there long enough. I was just working
So you
there
didn't
summer.
have, you didn't have your union fees and stuff.
No, right. Well, but then they have to pay you a certain amount too. I remember when I
Oh.
was working at Safeway circa 2003-ish, the cashiers were getting paid $18 an hour.
The union ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Anyone who had been there longer than 6 months or a year,
That's insane.
they were getting paid $18 an hour to scan your groceries.
But the cost
at
of
Safeway.
living over there is very high also.
Like astronomical, and it's only
Right.
gotten higher.
So that's probably not a great paying job over there. I don't know.
I don't know. I had no perspective on that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was riding my bike to work. I had my sister or my brother-in-law's bike, and I was riding their bike to work. Living the life in California. Every day was sunny and pretty weather, and just got to like hike and bike around, and I mean, it was great for the summer. So those were my first two jobs, and then when I graduated from college, I think I actually worked a summer in a landscape architect's office here locally in Mobile the summer before I graduated from college.
Yeah.
And then I got a job with him after college as well. So I had already worked with him in an office before I graduated.
Yeah.
And that was definitely an eye-opening experience as far as what working in an actual landscape architect's office is like, because if you guys are not graduated college or haven't worked a professional job, if you're a younger person listening, here's a real trippy fact. When you get out in the real world, what you do for a living almost 0% resembles what you learned in college if you went to college.
Right. For that specific content.
Yes. I mean, I had a degree in landscape architecture, but I went in the office and I was doing a lot of CAD work, which generally is what people I would do right out of college.
That's entry level stuff.
Sure, but as far as, I mean, it just wasn't the same at all whatsoever. And so I learned a ton about the practical end of designing for a client, a real client,
Right.
And then within that, you're working with people. I was in a very small office. So there was 4 of us total: the boss, the secretary, another CAD guy, and me. And so when you're working in a small office, everybody, I mean, you can hear everybody, you can see everything. Like, everybody's very all up in everybody's business as much as you possibly can be. And you try to keep quiet and not, if you don't want somebody to hear something, you better be real careful about it. So we all got to know each other well, and but ultimately,
all that being said,
job.
You didn't like working those type of jobs, though, right? I mean, you didn't like working for somebody.
No, I always knew that I would own my own business,
But really, I guess if you go even further back, I guess you could say your first job really was probably like cutting grass or babysitting.
That's why I asked you in the beginning if we were talking about me being my own boss or with other jobs, because
I thought you're talking about like your first job as the owner of your own company.
I always worked for myself until I started working at the dry cleaner. I'd always cut grass. I'd always gone out, shopping and reselling things. I was always piddling and earning money somehow.
Right.
But then I went to work for someone in several different capacities over time. And yeah, I don't like just going to work and getting a paycheck. That's not good enough for me. I have ideas about how things could be better, and you can't ever really do anything better when you're working for somebody else. They have their own ideas.
Sure.
They're putting their perspective into how to run their business, which is fine. It's their business.
Well, unless you're interested in like working up the ladder and getting one of those
Sure.
leadership positions and
Yeah.
making a difference that way.
Yeah. I mean, I you know, I'm the type of person who would work 100 hours a week for myself, but for somebody else, it makes me want to claw my eyeballs out, honestly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's how, I mean, I am doing what I should be doing, in my opinion. I'm doing it the way I should be doing it.
Yeah, working for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
doing things your way.
Yeah. I know that sounds so, it sounds like, so not selfish maybe, but you know, you always hear people, well, you think it's so easy, go do it. You go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. I'm not saying what I do is easy. My job is not easy. Being the boss, having employees, none of it is easy. In fact, it's very stressful. It would be way less stressful for me to go to a job from 9 to 5
Right.
and
just
click a
unplug
time
when you
clock.
leave.
Oh yeah, so much easier.
Right.
But it's just not who I am.
Right.
So don't think by me saying this that I've taken the easy path to life, because I haven't. Entrepreneurship is extremely lonely. It's extremely difficult, and it's not for everybody. I'm also in an industry now where I see it day in and day out. Contractors who are hiring laborers, it is very difficult for them to find good labor to work for them.
Right.
And then once they find the labor works for them for 6 months, 9 months, and they start thinking, hey, I could do this.
Yeah.
I
see how much money's coming in.
Yeah.
I need to get.
They think they see how much money's
Right.
coming in, or they do see how much
They
money's
see how
coming
much
in.
coming in. They don't see the money going
They have
out.
no idea what's going out. They
So
have
they
no.
just see it coming in. It's like, man, that's a lot of money coming into this place.
I would love to know the general mindset behind people laborers who have that mindset. They come in, they work somewhere, they see how much money is coming in. I would love to be in their head to hear what they think, because I'm imagining that they know how much everybody on their group gets paid, and they're adding it
Mhm.
all up in their head, and they're seeing how much these bids come in for, and they see how much coming in, but they
Right.
don't see insurance, utilities, office, you know, having to hire a bookkeeper to keep
Right.
track of it all, like all of the things.
Taxes.
Oh, tax, yes, all of it that has to
Licenses,
go
all-
out.
yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's a lot. It's
Right.
a lot, and not just knowing what those fees are from. Like knowing that they're going out, but knowing that those fees even exist, that you have to pay them. There's, I mean,
Right.
there's stuff that's
'Cause
come
if
up
you
for
don't,
me.
You'll find out the hard way. You'll get a fine
You'll get a
for not
fine.
having
Yes.
paid something. And
Yeah, so a lot of these people are very good at being a laborer. They're very good at their craft. They're
Sure.
great. You know, they're great at laying sod, or they're great at running a bulldozer, or they're great at all these things. That doesn't make them a good business person.
Right.
And those are two very different things. And I'm not saying I'm good at either one of those things, but I've seen some really bad ones.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen people ruin their careers trying to earn money to own a business, when they would have been way better off just
Being that laborer.
just be
The
the
skilled
laborer.
yeah.
I can give you, I'm not going to name names, but I know an example right now of someone who is a subcontractor to a general contractor, and he was on his own. He was running his own business, and he was underbidding jobs left and right. He was
Mhm.
not getting paid enough. And so the general contractor's like, look, man, you come work for me. I will pay you X number of dollars an hour. You'll make more than you were making running your own company. You can leave at 5. You know, it's
And you're done. Yeah.
You're done. It benefits the general contractor, because he has a laborer under him
Right.
all the time who's extremely skilled at his job.
Who's motivated.
Who's
I mean, if he can run his own
Yes.
business, he's self-motivated.
And then on the flip side, the laborer doesn't have to worry about paying any bills or doing anything, going out and looking
doing
at
bids.
jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general does all of it. And all
Right.
they have to do is just do what they love, which is their skill.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of people right now getting very big, too big for their britches, and saying, I am a really good painter, so I should go and own my own, you know, painting business.
Right.
Like, no, you should probably go work for a general contractor who needs a really good painter
And will pay you well.
and will pay
and
you
will
well.
find you work consistently.
Yes. Consistency and getting paid well are a way better bet
Right.
than, I mean,
And then, I mean, even in that profession, especially, you know, you work for your regular guy 9 to 5, and maybe on the side you go do a job on the side that's under the table
Sure. Yeah,
that
work on the
you
side
need
is
a little
fine.
extra cash because Christmas
Sure.
it's coming up.
Sure. All right, you want to go to break and then we'll talk about your first job?
Yeah, I've worked a lot of jobs, so it might take a while to get through them. So let's go to break, and we come back. We'll talk about my business. Welcome back, everybody, to the Building Aaron'sburg podcast. We were talking about our first jobs. Catherine, she's always kind of worked for herself and had a couple of 9-to-5s, I guess.
I have to say, we didn't mention it, but when I worked at those other jobs, except for the one that was in my field, I never felt like, ooh, I could be doing this better. It was never like that.
Yeah.
It was, and in fact, I don't think when I was even at my job, the professional, the landscape architecture job, I wasn't thinking I can do this better. It was never that.
Right.
Speaking of the person who goes off and owns their own business because they
right.
think they can do it better, it wasn't because I thought I could do it better. It was just like, I want to do it on my own.
Right.
I want to.
You prefer to do business that way, or?
Yeah, I just want to work from my house. I can't work from my house working for this person, so I'm going to work for myself.
Yeah, that's
over
interesting
here.
because I think I have the opposite feeling about it. I've always, with the exception of probably a couple of jobs, I've always worked for somebody, and in a lot of ways, I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
You'd
So,
rather someone else have the.
yeah, I'm a very hard worker, and I'm good at what I do, whatever it is that I decide to do. I'm really good at what I do, but the managing it and finding jobs and all, I mean, I just don't know.
But you
I
get
don't know
so frustrated by, when you want to do something and there's a bunch of red
I think
tape.
that's everybody, though. That's everybody in every profession, unless you work for yourself.
Yeah.
So here's my story. Okay, so my first job was at Delchamps,
Okay.
which
Which is a grocery store.
used
was
to
a
be a
grocery
grocery
store.
store. It's out of business now, not because of me, but I
So
think
you
that's kind of.
say.
I think that was the first job for all of us. I know my older brother worked there.
It was within walking distance
It
of
was
your
within
house.
walking distance of our house, and it was a regular grocery boy job. You went
You're
out
the
and
bag boy.
yeah, you bagged groceries. You brought the carts back in and stocked the shelves.
Now this is the day before they had the little automatic cart.
Oh yeah, there was a
cart
limit.
bringer.
The limit was 5. You could not push more than 5. That's what they told us.
5?
Yes,
Did you push that limit ever?
all the time.
You
Because
take.
if I was going out there and there were 8 in the thing,
Yeah.
I was gonna try to get 8.
Yeah, you got to take 2 trips.
There's a little bit of a hill though. You don't realize it at that store.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a hill there. I mean, you.
This is the
Get
day
yourself
before
in
the
trouble.
cart helper. This is in the days before the automatic brakes that they
Yeah.
now put on things so that people can't steal them out of the
Nope,
parking
you just
lots.
yeah.
Just took all those carts.
So that wasn't a bad job. You learned about being somewhere on time and having a schedule, and if the schedule conflicted, having to talk to your manager about.
Yeah. Talk to
And
adults.
I was a sophomore in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
it was probably a good first job.
Did you ever have anybody tip you?
We weren't supposed to take tips, but I do remember
Oh.
helping a lady out one time, and
She gave you a tip in the parking lot, so you let
Mhm.
her do it.
I told her that we weren't allowed to, and she's like, "Just don't tell anyone." So right.
That shows the difference between me and her. I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'll take it back in my pocket."
okay, bye. Sorry, kid.
Sorry, you can't take the tip.
See ya.
So, how long did you stay at that job?
I think it was only a summer. I
Really?
think I did it during the summer.
You talk about that job so much. You only worked there one summer.
Yeah, because
worked
it
at
went into the
Safeway
school
one summer.
year. It goes into the school year, and then I
Well,
think
sure.
I think I worked on the weekends during the school year, but at some point it just like I couldn't do it anymore.
Sure, but you only worked one. You didn't work all the summers during your high school.
No,
Just one.
I had a different summer job every year.
Oh, okay. Let's list them
That
out.
was my sophomore year.
All right,
My
Delchamps.
junior year, I sold knives.
That was junior year of high
Oh,
school.
that might have been senior year. No, I don't know. It was junior year. I was a customer service rep at a car warranty place.
All of your jobs are if y'all know Thomas,
So I
they're
answered
very
phones.
unlike him.
I answered phones, and we had a script that we had to follow. And if you remember that one episode of The Office where Michael has to get that night job,
Yeah,
that's what I
Yes.
was doing. They would call, and
ma'am.
I would
Have you-
ask for what's your contract number? I type it in the computer, and I could see everything that they had covered, and it was almost always something that wasn't covered that was broken. Like they knew how to write those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
and it was my air conditioner's broken. What about your air conditioner? It's the compressor. Oh, the compressor's not covered. I mean, it's like it's always
So your job was basically to tell people
to
that
tell people that yes,
they hired an entire flock of people,
there was like 12 or so of us
all just to tell people they were not
that they
covered
were
for
not
their
covered.
insurance.
Right.
Now, in your
In
experience,
the rare case that they were covered, we would have to transfer their call to the claims department,
Mhm.
and they would handle it. But more like we would take the initial, and you can imagine how those
I was
conversations
going to say,
went.
how many times you get yelled at
Every day.
every
It was
day?
like every day. And you would have to, as soon as you hung the phone up, it would ring again.
Yeah.
Like you would log in on your phone, and as soon as you logged in, it would ring and it would say how many calls were in the queue. And I remember thinking, like, all the time, I would look around and I'm just hammering away these phone calls. And I'd look around, there's people chatting, they're hanging out, they're talking. I'm like, how are they doing this? Are you not
They're not
logged in?
answering. They're not answering the
What they're
phone
doing.
calls.
I didn't know that I had that option. I'm sure
Somewhere
I
along
had
the way-
like the highest number of calls taken
Oh my
in
gosh,
that whole place.
I just forgot about one of my jobs. Anyway, we can talk about it later after we're done with
Okay.
yours. I just remembered one.
That job was miserable. That was a summer job, and when the summer ended, that one I left. Like I
Yeah.
don't think they were open on the weekends anyway, so like I
Michael
couldn't.
Scott left his too. His was pretty miserable as well.
Right.
It was
It was
time for him
bad.
to go.
And then my senior year, I sold knives,
Cutco knives, guys.
which I did not sell many. I learned a lot about sales, but
I think you in all of these cases, interesting. A lot of these, well, the last two, the Cutco and then the service one. I mean, did you not learn from the service one that extended warranties are crazy and bad ideas?
yes,
You learned that, and in Cutco, you learned probably a lot of. That's always the most interesting thing to me when you would tell these stories was more of the psychology behind
right,
it and what was happening from the bigger picture. Like, oh, okay, Thomas worked this job. They don't cover anything. Extended warranties are not a good idea.
right,
You worked this Cutco knife thing, and you start to pick out like who's buying these knives, who's not buying the knives,
right,
what they're buying, what they're spending, why they're doing it, like who they're buying it for, all these kind of like psychological
right.
things.
I don't think
reasons for doing
so.
things.
They sell all these different packages because no one buys an individual knife unless you're my mom. So you have to buy like these packages, and it was always like you'd have to make these conversations with people, which is I learned so much about sales. Like,
Yeah,
number one thing about sales is building a rapport and trying to figure out what these people need, and then putting it like what package. We have all these different packages for every single possible need a person could have.
mm-hmm.
Oh, your cousin's getting married? Well, we have this set of 6 table knives that
It's and how do you do that in an hour conversation when your job is
you had to be good at it.
to be there and sell them knives?
Yes.
Because you would make appointments and you'd have to show up to their house, and your job is to sell. Like they know and you know that your job is to sell them a knife.
So I think I did. I mean, I'd have to go back and like watch one, but if they ever got recorded, which they didn't, but I think I did a really good job building rapport with people because I think I am. Like once you sit down and talk with me, I think I do make good connections with people. But I just couldn't sit like when it was time. They taught us like, you do all these things to create good rapport, and then comes a point where it's kind of like this is the
you
time.
get the bear lured into the trap, and then you snap.
Yes. And I just
You
when
couldn't snap.
I couldn't. I'm like, God, don't buy these knives; they're too expensive. That's like I always felt that way because I
Yeah.
could never see myself spending that much on knives.
Yeah,
They were expensive, and I mean they were quality knives, but
I think that means that you didn't believe in your product.
I didn't. And
In the
that's
end, you
100% what it was. I did not believe in that product. I will never buy a Cutco knife. They're good knives. They're really good knives, but I would rather go buy 100 knives from Walmart before I buy one from
Yeah,
Cutco. It's going to cost me the same amount of money.
right.
So
You and I are cut from that same cloth.
yeah. So the next summer, we painted houses. Started by painting my
Okay.
grandfather's house.
Okay, hold on. Houses.
Yes.
What? Who else's house did
We
you
painted,
paint?
okay, not complete houses. We painted inside of houses.
You don't need to go to the YouTube feed right now so you can see my face because what?
We did. So
You-
we painted our house,
Uh-huh.
and that's when we got the idea like we could do this all summer, make lots of money doing this.
Uh-huh.
But we didn't. We painted like the next one that we got was like a Haley's. It was several rooms inside their house, but we would spend more time playing video games and watching movies over there than we would actually painting their house.
Wow, y'all sound like a typical
So
construction
we
laborer.
were the typical without someone to keep us in line. So
You weren't the foreman?
I was, but
Well, they're all your brothers working with you, so
right.
nobody's listening
And
to
friends. It was brothers and friends, and it didn't.
you.
It
Okay.
was not a successful business.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I could not run my own business because,
I don't
at least not
know.
with my friends like
I don't
that. I
know
mean,
if I
that
would
would
call
be.
it a summer job.
We were definitely not trying to make a career out of it. If
Good
so, we would
grief.
be poor.
Now that's a story in and of itself. They spent an entire summer, him, his two brothers, two of your
There's just
brothers,
two of my brothers and then two of our friends.
painting their house, which is a stucco. It's like original
It's stucco.
stucco
Yep.
with wood fascia board and soffits and all that stuff. But it's like 30 feet in the air. The top is two
Yeah, it's
stories.
a 2-story house. It's probably
The
a 4,000 square foot house, 3,000 square foot
Yes.
house.
The ceilings inside are like 10.5 feet. So
Right.
you have to imagine the second floor is very, very, very tall. And these guys they didn't have any equipment, no kind of scissor lifts or anything. They
No,
had
we had
a
ladders,
30-foot
extension ladders.
ladder.
Yeah.
They're all like teetering off the sides of extension ladders with sanders in hand. They're like jarring out of their hands as they're
Yep.
trying. Anyway, it was
And
not OSHA
here's
safe.
the more incredible thing. We brushed it.
They hand brushed the
Hand-brushed
entire house.
the entire
I mean, I just cannot. It's just the most ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your dad and your grandpa were trying to keep y'all
I don't-
busy.
yeah, they kept us
and
busy.
out of
That
their
took
hair.
a very long time to do. So we painted houses, and then my next summer I worked at the hospital as a transporter.
Oh, my lord!
There's some stories there too.
Not from you, mostly.
No, mostly from
your
my brother.
brother.
My brother and
The
I
same
worked
one
at-
who jumped with Marcus.
Yeah. So we were both transporters. We worked in different departments. I worked in
Transporter
X-ray.
is short for they push gurneys and wheelchairs
yeah.
around.
I mean,
That's
you
it.
transport people. I would show up to my department, which was the X-ray, the radiology department, and Pat worked in cardiology, and they would just like hand you this tag. It had a room number and a name. You'd walk up there. Are you Mr. Smith? You have a X-ray on your whatever. Yep, that's me. You'd put them either in a wheelchair or on a gurney, and you'd roll them down there.
Was it you or Pat that had to move like a 400-pound person?
It was Pat. So, and the thing was too. So mine was all in the same building, like where all the rooms are.
Yeah.
The
You just had to,
X-rays are
like-
just downstairs.
you
So
just had to push them on
for
an
me, it was just
elevator.
get them to the elevator, get them, and they're there.
Yeah.
Pat was in building 2, and there was a little incline.
A little incline. Y'all, this is
It
not
was-
a little incline. It was a substantial incline because I know exactly the one.
Which pushing a 400-pound person up and down that would be dangerous.
Just let him go. Put that brake on and hope for the best.
So he had so much worse. I don't know why.
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing. Transporters sometimes got themselves caught up in having to not just transport.
Yes.
Sometimes you were helping them do other things. Like I think Pat told a story one time about how he had to help lift the person onto a bed from
No,
a wheelchair.
I do that.
Oh, you
no,
did that?
transporters, you have to do that.
Oh my God. I mean, you guys are small. Any person larger than y'all and y'all are not that big.
Right.
Like, I feel like every episode of this podcast, we
So-
talk about how small y'all are. And it's not to just like exaggerate that point. It's just that everything y'all do.
No, there's a method for
has-
moving them.
has some
it's usually
conflict.
there's usually a two. It's if the person can't. That's the first thing you have to ask them is can they get into the wheelchair on their own power?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can, you're like, good. All I gotta do is hold the back of the wheelchair, like
Yeah.
you lock it.
Yeah.
You put the legs up so they don't trip over the legs, and then you tell them put their feet down, and then just sit back, and you're just there to guide them in.
Okay, well, I will say that working in the healthcare industry certainly taught you, I'm sure,
Oh
some
my
things
gosh,
about
you
some
see
people.
so much stuff in a hospital. Even I tell my students that all the time. Like, if you think you want to work in healthcare, and you think, well, I'll just work in a lab because I can't do the blood and whatever. I was a transporter, and I did the blood and whatever. Like, it's there. I mean, you can't not see it if you're gonna work in
Oh
that
my gosh.
field.
I never worked in a hospital ever. Oh, no, wait, yes, I did. When I was a kid, I was a candy striper. They put me down in medical records, and I thought I was going to die in medical records. I was like, I was a candy striper because this outfit is cute, and I want to be in the gift shop. I
Yeah.
want to
No,
sell
that's not what
people
you did?
gifts. No, they sent me down to medical records. I wanted to hold babies, and I wanted to be in the gift shop.
Oh.
And those fools sent me down to medical records. Now, this is back in the day when they used carbon paper.
Oh yeah.
That whole room smelled like carbon paper, and it made me nauseated. I got out of that job because I thought I was going to throw up. So I got out of that job, and I got to go to the gift shop. It was the best thing ever. I'm sure the lady was probably like, Catherine, where do you want to go? And I was like, the gift shop,
I
please.
can't do this carbon paper, but I can do the gift shop.
I pounded a what are those things called? The powder, the BC powder. That's how gross I felt. Like I thought I was gonna die. So I pounded I went up to the gift shop and I got some BC powder.
How do I get a job in this gift shop while I'm here?
Buy this BC powder. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to digress. I just remembered about
No,
that
so
job.
that was my last summer job. That was not because then around the same time I was in college, I started coaching football, and so during the summer I was coaching football also. So that was like the last summer job that I had where I was actually free during the summer.
You know how people go, this is my first kiss. Coaching football for you is your last first job. You've been coaching for 20 years now, I think.
Yeah.
Good grief. So the other job I had, back to me for a second.
Yeah. Let's toss it back over there.
The other job I had in college. Do you know about this job?
You did like accident reports or something.
Yes. Okay. So I went to LSU, which is the state college. And so I don't know why they did it on campus, but I would imagine this happens a lot at state colleges all over where they have a building or lots of buildings where they're doing government business of some sort on the campus. And I got a job. Basically, if you got a ticket on an interstate in the state of Louisiana, the tickets or an accident, any of that stuff, all those reports would come to our office. And there's a room full of people who would have to take the paper ticket and manually enter in the date, the time, information about the accident. It's like, I don't even know where it went after that, but
just some database.
Probably. I mean, I'm sure it goes to stats and all kinds of things for the state. Well, I did car accidents. There was a special girl in the office who did fatalities.
Ooh.
She only did fatalities.
Oh my gosh.
Her whole job was to type out all like the details of what happened.
Stuck with that?
I don't know, but I remember her name was Tiffany. She got stuck with all the fatalities, and the guy was like, this is what she does all day long. And all I was doing was it was a lot of ticketing, a lot of like you're speeding, how much over the speed limit you were going, all that type. So if you'd have to type all that information in. I did some accidents, but they were fender bender type things.
Right.
I think she was also the one who got all the train accidents because there would be train and car accidents as well, and she would have to type all that information in. I mean, it was just really bad stuff. But the funny thing about that job was that we shared a wall. It was just a room of cubicles.
Yeah.
And we shared a cubicle wall, my department, with some other department that was taking some sort of surveys also for the state. And this one girl, she had a script that she had to follow, and she would call all day long. I'm listening to her same script all day long. We didn't have headphones on. Like this is before the day of being able to do anything other than just like sit there and work. And so I would listen to her all day long say, and on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your satisfaction? And I was like, satisfaction, Thomas. I was like, this girl,
many times as you said it, she couldn't get it right once.
I remember
I guess that's what she thought the word was.
I think it was supposed to be satisfaction, and what's the other word she's mixing it with? Satisfaction, and I don't know.
I don't know what the other word is.
I remember one time she hung up the phone, and the girl next to her goes, "You realize you're saying satisfaction, right?" And she's like, "What?" Like she didn't even know she was saying it, but she didn't say satisfaction. She said satisfaction. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your satisfaction? Anyway, I heard that 1,000 times a day, and I was like, it was like Chinese water torture, where they just drip one drop of water on you until you just go crazy. That is what this was like. Listening to this girl mispronounce the same word over and over again all day long. Yeah. Jobs, man. You know what they do ultimately? They ultimately teach you how to be patient with other people, to deal with people, that's what life is about, right? Learning how to just deal with people.
I think it also helps you. You find out a lot about what you want to actually do for a living.
Or don't want to do.
Or don't want to do. I mean, probably in a lot of cases, what you don't want to do.
Yeah, there was no one who was like, if you don't get a college education, you're going to be stuck working in a restaurant the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Because there's plenty of people. I'm not one of those people that believes a college education is for everyone.
Right.
A huge proponent of people not going into trades and things like that. And there are plenty of people who are darn good at being lifetime waiters, waitresses, hostesses. They're very good at it and they enjoy their jobs.
Yeah, and they make good money doing it.
And they make good money doing it. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. So there is a place for everyone. And there's a job for everyone, but I sure did go through a lot of, what do they say, frogs before I hit my prince as far as a job was concerned.
Yeah.
And my job is the one where I get to do whatever I want whenever I want.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you figured out. I mean, that's where you started. Then you did some other stuff in the middle, and you're like, I can't do this. I got to go.
Yeah.
I have to do my own thing.
Yeah. No matter how hard it is, and it's darn hard to own your own business,
Yeah.
I would rather do this than do anything else.
Yeah.
Any day. So, anyway.
Yeah, and I think I'm the opposite. I don't think that I could. I'll say this. I mean, on the days, like, I feel like I have to go to work, do work, and then come home and be done with work.
Yeah, and you like that.
Yes, I feel like I need that structure. I'm very, very productive when it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
On these days where, with all this COVID stuff, we've had these virtual days where I get to teach from home, and so I don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't wake up and go work out in the morning.
Yeah.
I just kind of like, and then 8:00 rolls around, like, oh, let me turn on my Zoom and
suddenly
get
it's 2
going.
p.m.
And then like there's so much when I'm at school, when I'm at work, that I'm just getting stuff done in my free time. It's super productive during my free time, and when it's time for school to be done, or if it's during football season and we have football right after that, I'm super productive at practice, and then I'm home, and when I get home, I do stuff when I get home too. Like, I feel like as soon as I get home, I gotta hit the ground running at home too.
If there comes a day when I am so busy that I'm running a business with a ton of employees and my day is more structured,
Yeah.
I think I'll handle that just as
Sure.
well. It's just so for me, I'm not even sure it's a structure or unstructured thing.
Right.
I'm not really sure. I'm not good at analyzing that stuff at all. So maybe
I mean, it's different for everybody. I mean, but I know that about myself, that I need that. If I don't have that, like when I was painting with my air quotations.
Word.
I mean, we did nothing.
Yeah, you had
It
no.
was such a waste of time.
Are you not good at setting goals and then achieving them?
I don't think that that's what it is. I think it's if I know I have this to get done,
You're only
with
gonna do
only
that.
this amount of time,
Yeah.
I will get that and extra stuff done.
Huh.
If it's, oh, you got all day to get it done,
You'll take all day to get it done.
I'll take all day and I'll barely get it done.
Interesting.
And I'll waste so much time in between that.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. If you told me, like, those baseboards that I was supposed to work on today, if you just said, hey, we need to get that done in an hour, I would have got them all done in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like, hey, on Sunday, can we do the baseboards? I'm like, well, Sunday's 24 hours long. Yeah, I think I can get them done in that time. And I didn't finish them.
Yeah.
I got a decent chunk of it done, but if I knew that we had a bunch of other stuff packed into today,
yeah, you would have.
I'm like bouncing off the walls getting stuff done.
Yeah.
It's just but I know that about myself. I know that if I don't keep myself structured.
Well, just for the record, I really enjoyed today because it was very easygoing and laid back. And we
Right.
still got a lot of stuff. I felt like I was productive today.
Yeah.
Got the Cushman work done. My dad came over. Got the pool cleaned out. We're making our way towards spring.
Yeah.
It's happening. It felt like spring outside today, and I think if I could see people walking down the street in the neighborhood because I know everybody's like, oh,
it's been
it's
the
warm.
first nice day in a couple
Yes.
weeks probably.
Yeah, people are gonna be out working in their yards. So that's our conversation on our first jobs. If you guys have any questions or comments for us, or want to tell us about your first job, I would love to hear some first.
We had a lot of good comments after our last episode. So
We did? Why are we not talking about them?
people commented about the triple jumping, your undies.
My MeUndies.
There's just a lot of conversation about those types of
It
things.
was a good episode. So if you guys want to comment or send us your own first job stories, any of that stuff, send it to us on Facebook at Building Aaronsburg, on Instagram at Building Aaronsburg, or you can email us at buildingaaronsburg@gmail.com. Until next time, bye y'all.
Bye, y'all.